Atlus is a studio that I've really gotten into over the past few years, becoming such a huge fan of things like Etrian Odyssey and Megami Tensei and all of its various spin-offs. So I have been following Metaphor ReFantazio pretty closely since the announcement trailer last year. And I have gotta say, with each new trailer, each new overview, my excitement is growing more and more. Being heralded as a 35th anniversary celebration title, bringing in all of these all-star developers to work together and combine mechanics and systems from all of their fantastic games into one big Atlus experience seemed like such a dream come true to me. So, when a prologue demo was announced, I was excited to hop in just to get a taste of what to expect from the full game, and I'm very excited to share my thoughts on it. For starters, I gotta say I feel like I was pretty immediately hooked by the story. It very quickly started heading in an interesting direction that I honestly wasn't expecting. I won't spoil anything about what happens here in the demo, or even what I think might be leading down to later down the line. Believe me, while I do have some theories. But a lot of the themes introduced, such as freedom, facing anxiety, and the power of fiction, are all things that I am very much looking forward to seeing how they play out. From pretty much the opening minutes of the game, it raises a very interesting question to the player, and I cannot wait to see how it guides us to an answer throughout the full story, and what sort of events happen to justify telling us all of this. I also got a very good first impression from a lot of the characters. I mean, obviously, we've only seen the beginning of their journeys, and still have plenty more to meet, but it does feel like a solid group so far. Each of them feels well-defined and established into the world, and the sort of formations and the beginnings of their dynamics were also cool to watch. The writing of the game itself also feels, for lack of a better term, really genuine. It's really hard for me to explain it past that, but it feels like the game was super confident in itself in that department. And it felt like it believed everything that it was saying. Just super genuine. I think Moore is definitely my favorite character so far. I just loved everything that he said and how he said it. It also doesn't hurt him that the best song in the game plays whenever you talk to him. Also, it's really nice to have another speaking protagonist so soon. I feel like that fact alone puts Will above almost every single other Atlus protagonist. Aside from you, Ringo, you're still the greatest, seeing as he'll actually have somewhat of an arc or an impact on the story outside of a few player-selected dialogue options. I think the presentation was also super great. I don't even mean in the same way that people use to describe modern Persona, even though while it certainly was stylish. But I mean more so just I really loved how expressive everything was. From the characters to the world itself to even things like the cinematography. It just felt so flashy in all of the right ways, utilizing cool camera tricks and really taking full advantage of its art style and animated nature in general. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Everything just feels so animated in a way that made the cutscenes feel super enjoyable to watch. Now, getting into what people really care about, was it fun to play? And my answer to that is, I think it would have been pretty hard for it not to be. When you're literally taking all of these fantastic games and incorporating elements from all of them into one, I would be shocked for it to feel anything less than super, incredibly amazing. I can see it maybe down the line feeling maybe kind of awkward at times with all of these mechanics having to work together at a more intense level. But even then, that would be more than acceptable to me, because frankly, the mere fact that this game can even exist is just crazy. And I definitely think that's the main reason I am so excited for this game, because I really do love most of what this company puts out in the RPG department. And reading interviews from devs and marketing stuff about this game, and seeing it said that their main goal was to combine aspects from throughout their history to create a super special anniversary title, made me more excited for the release of this game than I had been for a game in a long time. I think the press turn system from mainline Shin Megami Tensei alone is such a fantastic mechanic, one that I really feel like they recognize that they struck gold with, and I am super excited to see it implemented here. It's so simple in concept, but it makes combat feel super deep, complex, and rewarding. It really creates for a lot of situations where you really feel rewarded for manipulating the turn order to be as efficient as possible, striking weaknesses and covering your own. It makes me feel so engaged with even the most fraudulent of random encounter enemies. And in this game, I got the impression that it's going to pair super well with a lot of the synergies and combinations presented with the Archetype, or class system. While admittedly, things never got too crazy in this prologue demo, seeing as it's barely past the tutorial of the game, I felt like I was able to catch a glimpse of what things might be like down the line, and I got super excited. Speaking of the class system, I really don't think it's any secret that I love games that have these. The Archetype system appears to me to be sort of a fusion between the character progression from Digital Devil Saga, where everything is much more linear in regards to leveling up your characters and unlocking specific moves, rather than everything coming from Demon Fusion. That and Etrian Odyssey's class system, in which each different class has a hyper-specific role in your party, and how you have to correctly line up and synergize it all together. These are both concepts that I feel like are great, and work really well on their own in their own respective games, but the fact now that you have to play around the fusion of all of these systems feels like such a genuine masterful showing of game design in every aspect. Even seeing the game as its own thing, it just feels like there's such a large degree of player freedom to designing their parties, and I really hope that the game is able to take full advantage of having the player master these systems, because I want nothing more than to get as much as I can out of this game in every way possible. If there is one thing that I feel like was such a genuine risk with this game, it's the fact that the concept of demon fusion is pretty much non-existent. With the exception of being able to like inherit different skills onto other archetypes, this is one thing that seems to be completely absent from the game. And that is a little crazy to me, because I feel like that it is such a large part of so many of these games' identity, that they could have easily had it in here without missing a single beat. I can respect the decision though, because it definitely doesn't really seem in line with a lot of what they're going for here, but the fusion mechanic is such a large part of why I love a lot of these games, but I really do believe that there's more than enough here to make up for that. Job system. If it wasn't obvious enough whether I liked the demo or not based on the way I've been talking about it, the answer is a resounding yes. I loved it. I am even more excited now for this game than I was then before I played it, and I'm very glad that it met my expectations. I hate to say it, but a part of me is going into this hoping that it becomes one of my new favorite games. And part of me even thinks that in 25 years, people might talk about this game like the way they talk about Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VII like they do now. It might sound like I'm a little too giddy with it, but I really am just so truly super excited for this game, and it's gonna kill me to have to wait these next 2 weeks. But who knows, I might actually get 10 hours into it and end up hating it. But let's just hope it doesn't come to that. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope that you're just as excited for Metaphor ReFantazio as I am. Let me know your favorite Atlas game in the comments. And if you liked the video, maybe like or subscribe? And if you really like me, maybe you could look in the description, follow my Twitter account, or maybe even join the Discord where we have a lot of fun. But until then, have a wonderful day.